So this was a photography story that began over 30 years ago, and it's going to take a little bit of telling. So let's grab a cuppa and I'll take you through from the start. Right, so how do we begin this story? Well, about 30 odd years ago when we first moved to this part of Nottinghamshire, I was doing a lot of running and used to run in the autumn and winter because I couldn't get out on the bike, the roads were often too bad. And this was a long time before I had any interest in photography really, and photography became such a big part of my life. But I distinctly remember running down a trail near where we lived, just out exploring new trails and tracks, and there was a woodland on my right hand side, and I had a distinct memory of glancing to the right, and because the trees had started to lose some of the leaves, I could swear I could see a wall, and I thought, well, what the hell is that there? You know, I wasn't expecting anything to be in there. As far as I'm aware, there wasn't anything there. So this intrigued me, and I decided to stop and have a quick meander through the wood and see what this wall was. Anyway, I actually found the wall, got to it. It was massive. It was about 20 feet high. Managed to get round the corner of this wall, and there was a gateway, and it was so ornate I couldn't really believe it. I thought I had no idea there was a wall there, and now there was this ornate gateway into somewhere else. Now, as I say, I wasn't into photography at the time, so although I'd found it and thought, wow, this is amazing, I had to get on with my run, so back on, more or less forgot about it, but it stayed in the back of my mind. And that will really take us to part 2 of the story. So now we have to fast forward a good 10 years, and I'd started to get into photography. I'd got myself a camera, really enjoying it, and lo and behold, I found a photographer called Simon Marsden, who, if you've watched my videos, you'll know I've mentioned before. And I absolutely loved his work, and I'm just going to flash up a couple of his images now while we're speaking. And he's got must have about 10 books out with these sort of ghostly images in there that are created in a very sort of special way. And suddenly I thought about this gateway into this, what I assume was a garden or something, and obviously it had these sort of Greek Roman pillars, and I thought, that would make an absolutely superb subject to go and try this out, and I really wanted to try it out and have a go. But unfortunately for me, as time had moved on, when I went back up to the site, this was a shooting estate, and the gamekeeper had basically completely closed off that area of woodland with high metal fencing, sort of chicken wire, to keep his birds in, because he was obviously breeding his birds in there, and there was absolutely no access to it. And although I knew, or I thought I knew it was there, there was no way I could get into it. So again, I had to shelve it at the back of my mind and move on to other subjects. So time passes, no access to that area, so I couldn't do anything about it. And over that period of time, which has now been like 30 years, your mind starts to play tricks on you. You wonder whether you actually did see a wall. Did you see a gateway? You know, the ornate columns, was that actually there, or is that just something that I've made up in my mind over time? Time and memory really does start to play tricks on you. And yeah, well, we're going to need something to happen to resolve this. And I'm hoping that this year something has. So we now have to fast forward to this year, 2025. And as I say, I think a lot of things need to come together for me to resolve this photography story, really. The first thing that happened was actually last year. My wonderful daughter, knowing that I loved Simon Marsden, actually managed to get hold of a Nikon F2. Now, that's important because the Nikon F2 was the camera that Simon Marsden used to take all his images. And I really wanted to, if I was going to do this, I wanted to try and replicate the conditions as closely as possible that he did when he was taking his images. So having the Nikon F2 was a great start. So I started doing some film photography with this, with different sorts of film. Really enjoyed it, but there were another couple of things that needed to happen before we could try and resolve it. So the next thing that had to happen was we had to have a look at film. Now that is extremely difficult and continues to be extremely difficult, because Simon Marsden shot exclusively with this camera with, I think it's Kodak HIE infrared film. Now the problem with that is that it's no longer made. It actually was discontinued in 2007, so you cannot get the film. Or so I thought until I started looking on eBay. So as you can see, this one is open. This is the film that I needed. I actually bought this on eBay. Stopped making it in 2007. Now, as people who use film will know, you have to keep it in the right conditions. So this has to be kept cold, so either refrigerated, which is what people normally do. Now, the other problem with this is obviously you can't get this film anymore. So this film is old. Film all has a expiry date. In other words, like most things in life, they've got a time where the film will start to lose its ability to be used effectively. It degrades over time. Now, looking at this film, it says it's got to be used by and processed by before March 1990. So 35 years out of date. Now the seller did tell me that over that period of time it had been refrigerated over that time. So there's some confidence there that this is going to work. But that's not the end of the story of this film. It's an absolute bugger. Because it's infrared film and it's really, really sensitive, what that means is that you can't just take the film out, load it in the back of your camera. You have to do it in complete darkness, which again is a fiddle. I've managed to do it, so but it's not easy. So I've had to do that in complete darkness, and that's not just doing it when it gets dark in the room and turn the light off. That is pitch blackness, so in a black bag, something like that. I actually did it under the bedclothes at night in the dark, just to try and preserve the film as best as possible. So, and also that's taking the film out as well. You have to take it out in the dark as well and get it back in that canister, so that's going to be some fun as well. So it's not easy. So we've got a number of problems with this process. So we've got the camera, we've got the film. The film is dubious. Now, Simon Marsden would use one of these. Just get this out, which is a red filter. Rather than historically what people do is they use a really dark red filter, which means that you have to put the camera on a tripod because you're using such long exposures to try and get an image to bring out the infrared. But because this film is so sensitive to infrared light, you can get away with using a red filter. And you can, what he used to do, from my research, I found that he would shoot at ISO 200. So that's another issue with this film, is because it's so reliant on the conditions that you shoot it in, they don't give you an ISO. So like if you get any film normally, it will tell you what it's rated to, what ISO level it's rated to. So then you set your camera to ISO 400, say, and then if your camera's got internal light meters and things, it will tell you what settings you need to use to get a perfectly exposed shot. So you don't get any of that with this film. This film is so reliant on those conditions that you're shooting in, whether you've got a lot of sunlight or very little sunlight, that you have to basically work that out yourself. Now, from my research, I found that Simon Marsden used to rate that film to ISO 200. But don't forget, we've got film that's 35 years out of date, that's possibly degraded quite a lot, which means that it loses its sensitivity. So what I decided to do was rate the film to 400 ISO, so take that up and then still hand hold it. But what I was going to do was basically every shot I took, I was going to take 3 individual shots at different shutter speeds. So a 60th of a second, 1/125 of a second, and 1 1/250th of a second, and then hopefully one of those should come out with an exposure that's usable. Now, as I say, it's all trial and error. Again, this camera has not got an internal light meter, so I'm using a light meter to take the readings. But hopefully, by taking 3 shots at each location at least, I should be able to get some results. That's the theory anyway. So yeah, not easy, but I think I've covered those points as well as I can. Now I just need to know if that location actually exists. So there's no fencing up. We've got a bright sunny day. I'm actually located in the churchyard up here to record this video. So I'm going to head off into the woodland and see if I can find this gate and see if it does exist, and hopefully end this 30-year-old story. Right, you're back. So it's already been a little bit of a trial this morning already. I actually found the path that I was running up. I'm almost certain it was the path I was running up 30 years ago, and headed off the path in more or less the same area I thought I had, and I could actually glimpse the wall, but the nettles were this high, and unfortunately this morning I haven't bought the blooming machete. Normally carry it everywhere when I'm sort of doing wildlife videos, because I sometimes have to hack through stuff, but didn't bring it with me this morning. However, a little bit of scouting round, and I spin you around, I found the wall. Now I'm in a completely different area. This wall is massive. I don't know whether you can see down there, but it goes for probably 150 meters in that direction, just straight down. So what I'm going to do, we'll do a bit of a point of view video, I think, and I will take you on this next bit as we explore around. If it takes too long or if I get stuck, obviously I'll stop it, but we'll spin you around so you can see what I can see, and I'll give you a bit of commentary probably as I get stung on the way around. Let's spin you around. Okay. Follow the wall, and we've come to another wall. That's a bit of a surprise. Let's see if we can get through here. Things I do for photography. Right, tell you what, we'll follow this one. I see the nettles are a bit more dead round this area. That's good. I can cope with these. We'll follow this wall. I mean, this is amazing. This has obviously been some sort of walled garden, because you can see all the wires on the wall where they've had stuff growing up it, I think. It's just, God, it's so overgrown now. These trees are massive. So anyway, nettles. Oh God. Ow. There's always one that gets you. A gateway, a gate. This isn't how I remember it. This is not what I remember. No, it's not. There's a gate here, but that's just not it. And look at this here. Wow. This is the remnants of what I assume was some sort of lean-to greenhouse that goes all the way down here. You've got all the mechanisms for opening the roof and stuff. But that's amazing. I mean, it's worth coming back to photograph this at some point as well. But this can't be the gate. This is not how I remember it at all. It had columns, I know it did. Or did I? Oh God. Actually, you probably can't see on this, but if you look through the trees there, there's a wall over there. Right, I'm going further exploring. This is probably, there's a bit of a route to the left, I think. Follow this down. I think if there's a wall down that side, I think there might be actually. I can't really see, it's dark down here, but that could be a wall. The gate I remember, I'm sure, was in that side. It wasn't that one. I'm fairly sure. Yeah, great. I've only got nettled twice so far, so that's a bonus. Oh God. There is a wall. There's another gateway. Through the trees here, look, that's a different type of stone. It's not in brick, it's in stone. Oh God, don't rush. This has got to be it. Ow, get off. Ow, ow. 5 nettles, it's worth it. It's worth it if this is it. Oh my God. So this is the inside of the gate, and I was on the outside. You can see it's all in stone, and if you look, I don't think that was as overgrown. I'm expecting there were columns, so I just can't wait to get through this door. I just can't wait to see. We're going through. Yes, this is it. This is it. Oh my word. Look at that. I can't even see the top, and I'm sure I could see the top before. There's some, look, there's some grape, I think grapes and things that were at once carved into the stone at the top there, but it's so weathered now. But these columns, look at the, oh, fantastic. And there's little alcoves in the wall either side as well. Oh my word. I am so pleased that that is here. And it makes such a great Marsden subject. It's so overgrown. Right, I've got the camera, got the film, hopefully, got the filter. Let's take some shots. Let's hopefully take some shots and get some results. Right, so Simon Marsden's work and trying to replicate something similar to it. As I say, we've got all the equipment to do it now. If you look up infrared images on the internet, you'll see loads of images that look, to me, really alien. They don't look like they were shot on this planet, because it obviously does strange things with the light. All your foliage turns white. Now, I have to say, if you saw those images that I showed earlier, that's not what we're doing here. And that's one of the reasons I think I love this work so much. It's because it looks normal but abnormal. There's something not quite right about it, and I think that's why Marsden gravitated towards it so much, is because he was trying to create images that were unsettling, because his books are all about ghosts and ghost stories. In fact, if you watch the comedy film called Dracula Dead and Loving It, you'll see in the credits when the film's starting, some of those images are actually Simon Marsden. So he was into all this sort of stuff. And if you've got an image that looks completely alien, it loses it for me. It just, it doesn't look real. But if you've got an image that looks normal, but there's something not quite right about it, and I think this is what this form of infrared does, because it basically takes normal black and white images and just twists it a little bit, so you think there's something not quite right about that. And then if you shoot it in the right conditions, in the right location, in a location that looks quite spooky, then you get that unsettling image, and that's what you're looking for. So what this will look like is a black and white image but it'll look very grainy and it'll look quite unsettling and ghostly, hopefully. That's what we're looking for in this image. And as I say, that's what you get with shooting this film with a red filter. You don't get that complete, that looks very, very odd. Hopefully anyway. So let's take a look at the composition for this image. There's nothing particularly startling about it. If we look at the scene in front of us, and this is going to be quite wide to what I'm taking, I'll probably shoot from slightly lower down because I want to try and get this ivy in at the top. Now I've got my digital camera set up here just to take some images for reference as well. But this foliage here is catching the sun, so that'll come out nicely. But what we're looking at really is through this gateway here. And what Simon Marsden used to do a lot is he would shoot into the sun, so that the sun was coming directly into the camera, and then he'd block it out with something. Like here we've got this wall, but we've got sunlight behind there, which is good. And ideally I'd like it to be further around there, but I don't think from this location you get that. I think the sun rises over there and basically makes its way around the back of me. So I think this is the best we're going to get at this location. But what that does, that gives you that blown out look that he gets to some of his images, which I really, really like. So hopefully we'll get something similar. But I'm going to take probably most of the film here today because I just want to make sure that I get a shot. So there'll be lots of experimentation in the hope that I get one that comes out. But so blooming excited. I can't believe this location. It's absolutely stunning. So that's it. I have used the whole roll of the film here today. I was so concerned to try and get something after 30 years of waiting to see if this was actually even here. I felt it deserved using the whole roll of film, especially as I don't know what this film was going to do. We have no idea, but yeah, I've tried my best. As I say, I love film for this reason, because I don't know what I'm going to have on here until it gets processed, whether there's anything at all, and neither will you. Now I have to add at this point that Simon Marsden himself shot on film, developed all his own film, and he would have worked on it in the dark room doing dodge and burn techniques but with chemicals to get the style of image that he wanted. Now obviously I've got it a lot easier. I know nothing about the dark room at the minute. That might be something I look at in the future. This is as far as I can take it without actually doing the dark room bit. However, I feel that, you know, he's only going to be doing the same thing that I am, just with chemicals, and I can do it on the computer. So there's going to be quite a bit of dodge and burning. That's if there's a base image there. I need a base image, and I'm so concerned that maybe there's nothing on here, but yeah, we'll wait and see. You'll wait and see, like I'll wait and see. I'll send this off to be processed. I also have to get it out of the camera in complete darkness again, which hopefully shouldn't be as difficult as getting it in the camera. I mean, I've even been concerned now that I've been scrolling the film on, and I feel there's some pressure there, so I think when I'm winding the film on, it is winding on. But of course you can't tell whether you've got it on in there properly at all, so we'll see. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give the video a like. It really does help the channel, and also subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done already. Now I'm going to leave you, and if it's a black screen and nothing, you know, it was a failure. If there's something there, well, at least we got something. Maybe Marsden will give it a 5 out of 10. I'll catch you for the next one.